my fellow human beings, and welcome to episode 153 of The Best Blessed Life. I'm your best host, Kristen, and today's topic is kombucha bread on and ferment your baking skills on this easy, in quotations, recipe. Before we get started, I want to thank you all for watching. Please continue to watch, comment, share, like, subscribe, ring that bell, and please pass them on to anyone you think they would help. And with that being said, here's our list of things to do today. I think I've decided to just kind of forego the daily mantras, just remind you that they exist. They're on my stories, so please make sure you're following me on Facebook at Kristen Haas, Kristin Hass. Instagram, Instagram and TikTok are the best at The Best Blessed Life, and Twitter is The Best Blessed Life with the I removed and a 1 in its place for life, obviously. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about self-care, and that is also our challenge. I know you can't see that very well for some reason today. It's very bright out. That hasn't happened in a while. So we're going to talk about self-care and what that means to you. I know I've brought it up in the past, but we're going to bring it up again. That's right. Okay, and then we're making kombucha bread. Now, I've never heard of this. I've never had kombucha. I'm a little leery. I'm a little nervous about it, but I'm going to try this kombucha bread. I saw somebody make it on, I think it was Facebook or Instagram, probably Facebook. And then I looked it up and I found a recipe on Pinterest. And it's simply 2 cups of self-rising flour, plus 2 to 3 tablespoons for shaping the bread. And then it's 1 cup of kombucha, and it's a half teaspoon of salt. Okay, so the salt is optional. That being said, I did make my own self-rising flour with my gluten-free flour. Now, apparently, I don't know if this is actually going to work, because some people say you need like a xanthan gum or something, but I do believe my flour mix might have that in there. I didn't look. And so we're just going to wing it. So the self-rising flour, to make it gluten-free, is you use gluten-free 1-to-1. And then it's 1.5 teaspoons of This is based on 1 cup of gluten-free 1-to-1 flour. You add 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder, and it was 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So because this recipe required 2 cups, obviously we doubled the baking powder and the salt. So I am opting out of the salt in the bread itself because it's in the flour. And then the other thing I'm opting in is said you could add flavorings and what have you. I was going to do an inclusion where it was like apple pieces, because the kombucha I got was pink lady apples flavored. And so I thought I would kind of play on that appliness, which just smells like apple cider vinegar to me. I'm going to incorporate cinnamon sugar, and I'm debating on what amount. So first thing I want to do is, let's see, is this a half? Helps if I put my glasses on. Is just go through now this, while I say it's easy because it's simple ingredients, it is a bit of a project. So this is going to be filmed in 2 parts. So the first part's really simple. Basically, we're making it and we're allowing it to sit in a warm or room temperature place for 5 hours at the least. So that is why I want to get this going, so that I can get this all filmed in 1 day. Fingers crossed. But I also want to incorporate some cinnamon sugar, so we'll see how that goes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I always have cinnamon sugar made and on hand. So I thought maybe I would add, this is what, 1 teaspoon. I think I'm going to do 2 teaspoons. Okay, I want to make sure it actually has some cinnamon sugar quality to it. So I think I'm doing 3. And it actually did change the color of the bread a little bit. Or the flour a little bit. Okay guys, so apparently I hit stop on the old computer instead of hitting unpause. Or pause, I mean. So what I ended up doing, I'm going to go back a few steps because I've already added the cup of kombucha to my flour, gluten-free, self-rising flour mixture. And I had left off before I hit stop. I had left off by adding 3 teaspoons of cinnamon sugar. And so I am in the process now, and I'm going to show you this again. I know you didn't see it before, but I showed you twice now, believe it or not. My dough is not sloppy wet. So I'm a little concerned, but I'm going to add, I don't know. I feel like I should have the way she said to measure it, she said, measure the kombucha, was to measure it using, waiting it till the foam stopped. So I actually poured it so that it wasn't foamy, and maybe I messed up somehow. All right, I think we need a little bit more, but I think we almost have that sloppy wet consistency. I just want to have a little bit of the bubbles, and maybe I should have just poured it directly in, but then how do you measure it, right? Okay, I'm not saying she's sloppy wet, but she's getting there. So I feel like we're almost to the sloppy stage, but I'm going to add just a touch more, and then I'm just going to leave it because I don't consider it sloppy, but maybe her definition of sloppy and my definition of sloppy are 2 different sloppies. Okay, so basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour in another capful. And maybe not even a capful. Okay. Okay. Yeah, now I spilled it all over the counter. You know, it's just one of them their banner days. Okay. So I think we're all stirred up. Okay. I'm going to scrape this all off. And the only thing we're doing now, it looks elastic, yep. Okay, so the definition is stir the dough is sloppy wet, not liquid like cake, but it looks elastic. So that's where we're at. I just want to make sure I get that added kombucha in there. So yeah, we do have an elastic texture to it, which is good. We're in the right frame of mind here. Okay. And then all we're doing, after we get that texture, if it's too liquid, it says to add a little bit more flour, but we didn't have that problem. She didn't talk about the issue we had. We're special. Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to wipe up this little bit while I'm standing here talking to you and showing you the dough. So here's the dough. Prettying it. And she's a little sloppy, but she's got some elasticity. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to film the bowl tight with plastic wrap. I use press and seal. It says film the bowl tight with plastic wrap, cover it with a towel, and place in a room temp for at least 5 hours, if not overnight. So we will see where we end up. If we get to this today, I'll be happy. If we don't, we'll get to it tonight or tomorrow. And then once you get that nice and tight on there, the next thing they want you to do is cover it with a towel. I have to show you my towels, my tea towels I got from Aldi. It literally says, all you need is love. Da, 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 da. Okay. So that's what we're doing is we're covering it with the towel. And I put mine in the microwave just because we leave this light on pretty much all the time. So the bottom or my glass plate in my microwave is pretty warm. And the time starts now. And I'm basically going to say from 10 a.m. So what's that, 3? I can't even do math. Yeah, 3 o'clock. This sign goes out all the time. Okay. So I think we're going to leave it there now. I won't even get into a really hefty conversation about self-care yet until we're working the dough and we're self-caring the dough. No. I did make some extra self-rising flour because she does want you to use that for the actual, like, we're not kneading it. We're just scraping it off the bench and then folding it in on itself. That's the only process we're doing. And then we're putting it on parchment paper. Oh, we are preheating our oven to 450, I believe it is. Yeah. And putting our Dutch oven in there for like 20 minutes. And then other than that, we just lift it off with the whole parchment and we put it in the Dutch oven and we cook it for half an hour. I think it was a half an hour with the lid on and then another 13 to 15 minutes with the lid off. But I'll walk you through all those steps. So I will see y'all in 5 hours, or I wait and do it the next day. We'll see how the day goes. Hey guys, so I'm back. I don't know if you want to call it bad news, not great news. My dough did not rise whatsoever. It looks exactly the way it did when I put it into the bowl. And I'm pretty sure it was one of two things. It was either my self-rising flour wasn't self-rising, or me putting in the cinnamon sugar killed it. But guess what we're going to do? We're going to make it anyway. All right, so right now I have in the oven my Dutch oven, and it's preheating. I'm supposed to be waiting until it gets to 450, but I figured while I was talking, it could be getting to 450 and it could be preheating the Dutch oven at the same time. It's not going to come out great, I have a feeling, but I want to make it anyway. It smells really wonderful. I do have to say that. So this is what we're going to do, is we're going to get this guy out of the bowl, hopefully. I'm pretty sure it's pretty ready to come out, I think. Yeah, it's pretty wet still. So let's see if I can get it to, it says to use a silicone spatula, I think it was. Silicone tool, it just said. So I'm going to use my, yeah, she's pretty wet. She didn't do much except sit around all day. So anyway, while we're playing with this dough, which we're basically just supposed to be scraping through the flour, we're going to be talking about self-care and how you do it, how you feel your method is working, you know. So basically what we're going to do next is we're going to take our dough scraper. It says the dough is very wet and sticky, which I would say mine's wet, but it's not sticky. And that's what you want. So I sprinkle 2 tablespoons of the self-rising flour onto the top of the dough. That's 1. And that's 2. And then rub lightly over the cover. Okay. And then use a scraper to fold the sides into the middle, right? Yeah. So like that. I have a feeling it's just a little too you know what? I'm not going to put any stipulations on what happens to it. Whatever happens, happens, right? So we're going to scrape and fold in like that. Okay, how often am I supposed to do this? It says if it doesn't hold a roundish shape and it's still spreading, add more flour. Don't need, just keep scraping from sides to center of dough ball. Okay. Doesn't really give you too many options on how many times you're supposed to scrape it. I guess it's just supposed to get to a form where it's no longer spreading, which I don't know if mine will ever stop spreading, but hey. Okay, so how do we take care of ourselves? We need to not let ourselves get on empty, for one thing. I feel like that's a majority of what happens to me, is I let myself get run down because I want to do everything I want to do, you know? And sometimes that's not always feasible. And talking yourself into taking a break is often harder than we like to think. Okay. I don't know if I'm doing this correctly or not, but it's to the point where it's no longer, I would say, spreading. I don't know how round it really is. Yeah. Okay. You're not supposed to knead, just supposed to scrape. So at this point, I don't really know what I'm doing. Okay. I guess it's round without really spreading. So I'm going to put on my parchment paper. And while we're getting this on there we go. Ta-da! And we get it shaped. Is it going to be beautiful? Of course. We're thinking positive, aren't we? Just giving it a little pat. And then we're supposed to, while it's on the parchment, that's when we sprinkle with flour. Oh, I didn't need to do that. I don't need to do that. Okay, now we're going to score with scissors. It doesn't say how, though, so I'm just going to... I have no idea what I'm doing. Okay. Is it going to turn out great? I don't know. It might taste amazing. Okay, so we're waiting at another 13 minutes, and while we're doing that, I can be talking to you about self-care. Things I do: go on walks where I sit and I walk and I talk to myself. Other things I do are baths, showers, naps, a lot of self-talk, you know, really laying down the ground rules, setting boundaries for your own self, in a sense. Because just like everything else, you have to be firm with your own self. And if you can't do that for yourself, at least try and do it for everyone you love, because, you know, that old saying, can't pour from an empty cup type of situation. So, excuse me, I got a tickle in my throat. So it's important to be your own sounding board. That's why the walks are so important for me. I really need to walk myself through a lot of stuff sometimes. And sometimes hearing it from my own mouth, it sounds so ridiculous, right? Like, I say whatever I need to say out loud, and then I look at myself and I go, did you really just say that? That sounds so ridiculous. So, it helps. Even if it just helps you to solidify that you're not crazy or you're not, you know, imagining things. I guess that's a part of being crazy, maybe not. But yeah, just taking lock, stock, and barrel. I remember one of the first challenges I did for the first year was like taking an assessment of your body and what has changed from week to week, month to month, however you want to do it. It's just to go, okay, this is new. You know, I didn't feel like this before. And I can honestly say I'm feeling that about a couple, you know, different areas. So I'm trying to remain hopeful and positive and all that good stuff, you know. And it helps to talk it through with y'all and, you know, get your perspectives on things. So, you know, if you like what you're seeing, feel free to subscribe, please. And leave me a comment in the comment section about how you feel and what you do for self-care, that kind of stuff, because it will help me out a lot. We got about 45 seconds here before our pan will be ready to be done preheating. I did want to mention another thing I like to do self-care wise is self-myofascial release, which is a lot of like pressure point and really digging in there with the massager, and then also stretching. So I think ways back, like episode 34 or something like that, I did a whole stretching routine, and that is like one I do a lot. I will have to try and remember to go through that one with you the next time. Make sure you're following me on Instagram and Twitter. Instagram and TikTok at The Best Blessed Life. Twitter at The Best Blessed Life with the I replaced with a 1 in life. And then on Facebook at Kristen Haas, KristinHass, because this is going to cook for half an hour. Woo, we're smoking. And, sorry, that's got to go on for a little bit. The pan's smoking. So here's our bread. I don't know if you can see it on the white. And we're gonna plop it in. Sizzle, sizzle. All right, let me get the lid. I almost touched that lid. Woo, that would have been bad. All right, so let me slide it over. Put that in there. All right, we'll see what happens. It's gonna go in for half an hour at 450 degrees with the lid on, and then another 13 to 15 minutes with the lid off. I'm actually just going to plop this in there, and I'm going to let you go so we can get this finished up and get the video out to you all. But make sure you're following me so you can see the end results on those social media platforms. And I can't think of what else I was going to tell you. So make sure to drop me a comment on some self-care that you've done for yourself in the past. Make sure you just hit that subscribe button so you can enjoy more wonderful mistakes, happy mistakes, whatever you want to call them. It might be really delicious, but yeah, I think I messed up. That was my own darn fault. So take with that what you will. I should have set the timer. I'm going to go with that 28 minutes. And yeah, take care of yourselves. And don't pour from an empty cup. Give yourself a little love. And I guess the only thing I have left to say is I hope you had a good day. Go do great things. Be your best self. And please live your best blessed life. Thanks for watching. And fingers crossed.